we have the latest chapter of Trump scaling back good things Obama tried to do for you. And so we've got some news about overtime pay. So here's the deal. Right now, there are a few exceptions, but generally, only workers who make $23,000 a year are due overtime pay under federal law. And just so we're clear, we're talking time and a half after 40 hours a week. So in 2014, the Obama administration tried to double that threshold to include workers earning up to $47,000 a year, tying future changes to the cost of living. And the idea was that a dramatic expansion was needed because the government hasn't raised the salary limit to keep up with inflation. Of course, as you can imagine, business groups were not happy, and they and 21 Republican-controlled states sued the Obama administration right before the rule went into effect in 2016, and it's basically been on hold since then. So instead of fighting for it, Trump's Department of Labor is just gonna scale the proposed salary limit down from the $47,000 to $35,000 and scrap the cost of living increases, and that means about 2.8 million of the 4 million workers who were expected to get overtime benefits will not get them.
Okay, so that's lower wages for 2.8 million Americans. Yet again, so Trump said, oh, I'm gonna look out for the average guy. No, he's looking out for big business who are his donors, and you guys are getting screwed. So let's do some math. That's the fun portion of the program. Back in 1975, the overtime limit for your salary was $8,060. So now that seems pretty low. So if you made that much in a year, then you qualified for overtime. If you were above that, you did not qualify for overtime. But if you apply inflation to that, by 2014, that would have been $50,440. So that's why even the Obama number is a little low. So if it just kept pace with inflation, people making under $50,000 would qualify for overtime, which is time and a half, which would be significantly more wages for all of you that are in that category. But they won't do it. And so here's the Republicans again fighting tooth and nail for lower wages.
So one other additional math equation to wrap your head around with that number, in the 1970s, that number, the 8,000 number that you referenced, covered about 65% of salaried employees. Right now, today, the percentage of salaried employees that are covered under overtime pay is at 7%. 7% of the people that are making the least amount of money in this country are covered under this current existing law.
Yeah.
But the thing that you were mentioning as far as Republicans, well, have you considered the libs have been owned? I mean, 2.8 million Americans are not going to get as much money as they were slated to under Barack Obama, but Barack Obama was black and a Muslim, and the libs are now owned because Donald Trump is president.
That's right. So if you make between the Obama proposal, which was $47,000, and the Trump plan, which was, and they did that only so that they wouldn't have to appeal in the courts and maybe get a number that was higher, right? So if you make between $35,000 and $47,000, you just cost yourself a ton of money to own the libs. If you're in the right wing, if you're in the left wing, you're going, I knew it, I knew they were gonna lower my wages, and they did. And so it got increased a little bit because of the so-called compromise, right? So how much does that cost? Well, it costs $4 billion over 10 years. Okay, but let's take the conservative number for the corporate tax cut that just happened under Trump. That's $1.5 trillion. So that's 1,500 billions versus 4 billion. So corporations got an enormous, gigantic tax break, and they had to share a tiny, minuscule part with you guys. And they go, you see that? What do you mean? What do you mean? I did a tiny little bit for you guys. Well, I gave away the house to the corporations. So look, as Haas said, 65%, that's 2/3 of the country used to get overtime. Now it's only 7%. So this is how corporations squeeze and squeeze and squeeze you until you make the bare minimum and they maximize their profits, which is what they're supposed to do, but they're not supposed to buy our government. They did, and Trump is the biggest swamp monster of all.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.